Golden child brother got my fiancée pregnant, so my family abandoned me. After 5 years of no contact, he's in a coma and my mother demand I step up as replacement father for his child. So 5 years back, just a month before I now 30 was supposed to get married to my fiancée, I recently learned that she was romantically involved with my brother, and the only reason they were even coming clean to me about it was because she was pregnant and wanted to keep the baby. My ex-fiancée Karen, 30F, and my brother Chris, 33M, had apparently been sleeping together ever since Karen and I had been engaged. Karen and I have been together since our junior year of high school. We continued our relationship through college, so getting engaged seemed like the natural next step after being together for so long. However, after we got engaged, I found out that she cheated on me with my brother. The only reason that even happened was that a couple of days after our engagement, my brother had confessed to her that he had always had feelings for her, and he just felt like he had to let her know because she was about to get married, and after that, he could no longer tell her anything about these things. Then, she suddenly realized that she had started developing feelings for him over time. It seemed that they would even playfully show interest in each other at family gatherings, but she was unsure about him, which is why she chose to stay with me. I got to know all these things 5 years ago, just a few months before my wedding, when the two of them sat me down along with my parents and told me that they were planning on getting together, and she could no longer get married to me, because Karen was in love with Chris and they were having a baby together. I was really upset that day and almost didn't want to believe it. I told Karen that I wanted her to come home with me and end her relationship with Chris. But my mother made it clear that Chris and Karen were going to be together, and I had to accept it because it was their decision. I was shocked to see my mother supporting this, but at least my dad looked ashamed and tried to comfort me. But my mother was blatantly just supporting this and even told me that if I had a problem with it, I could keep it to myself because Karen was pregnant, and I had no right to her when she was in such a delicate condition. My mom was really excited to have a grandchild in the family, so she was more focused on that than on understanding what I was going through. She argued with me a lot to defend what was happening. After the confrontation that day, Karen moved in with my family because her own parents did not want to speak to her anymore after she had told them the truth. We obviously had to cancel the wedding and my parents covered the cost of it. I don't have to worry about any of that either. But, I got kicked out of the family because I refused to talk to them, and for the past 5 years, we haven't had any contact at all. The only person who had even bothered to try and reach out to me was my father, but I wasn't even bothered in speaking to him, so there's been radio silence from there and after I cut ties with them. It took me a long time to recover from what happened to me because Karen and I had been together for a very long time. It was difficult for me because I really loved her. I went to therapy for a long time to help me deal with it, and even now, I'm not completely over it, but I'm coping with it. The rest of the family had kept in touch with me, though, and I did find out from them that she had a son with my brother, and just a month after she gave birth to her son, I got a call from my mom out of the blue last week, which was surprising because she had been really supportive of my brother and his wife. It turns out that a paternity test confirmed that the child was my brother's and not mine. They got married and have been together for 5 years. I thought everything was going well for them, but then my mom called me and it was unexpected. So, just out of curiosity, I decided to call her back after she sent me an email saying that she needed to speak to me urgently. When I called her, she delivered some pretty bad news to me while crying, and I learned that my brother had unfortunately been in a really bad accident. The person was in a hit-and-run accident, and the impact was so severe that they're now in a coma. It's uncertain how long it will take for them to wake up. This had happened last week itself, and just 3 days after the doctors had said that things were pretty critical right now, my mother had decided to call me up and inform me about it. At first, I thought that she was going to ask me to visit him and be there for the family. I was prepared to do it because, despite everything, I believed it was a big deal and it was a reasonable expectation for me. I didn't want to abandon someone in such terrible condition. However, my mother wanted me to be there for Karen and my nephew. I didn't even understand what that meant, and then, she told me that she now expected me to step up and be there for them in my brother's place. When I asked her to elaborate, she said that since Chris was no longer around, I needed to support Karen and her child in every possible way, not just financially. She actually wanted me to move in with them to take care of them. She said that she would have taken them in herself, but she was not getting any younger, and it would be too much work to take care of all of them. That's why she was calling me to let me know, and she expected me to make a decision on the phone call itself. I got really upset because she hadn't talked to me for 5 years, and now that she was finally speaking to me, she expected a huge favor. I could understand that Karen and her son were all on their own right now and they needed somebody to be there for them, but that somebody should have been someone from their immediate family and not me, somebody whom she had betrayed and then not even bothered to apologize to. I told my mom right away that I wasn't going to do what she asked, and I thought it was silly of her to even expect me to say yes to that. And then, she started arguing with me on the phone and I didn't have any time to waste. I was already pretty pissed off. I didn't want to make myself feel even worse by talking to her, so I just ended the call and then blocked her number again. I couldn't focus on my day after hearing about Chris and Karen's situation. I felt really sorry for them, but I couldn't bring myself to do what my mother suggested, to replace my brother in their family because he had fallen ill. It just didn't feel right because my brother was still alive, even though he was dealing with a serious health issue. My mother was already acting like he was gone, but that wasn't the case. I was feeling very iffy about this entire situation, so later that day, I decided to call my father instead because I thought that he would be more reasonable than my mother. It was very awkward to speak to him after 5 years of no contact, but after some small talk, I asked him how Chris was doing and he told me that things were not looking too good right now. I shared with him the conversation I had with my mother earlier that day, hoping for some helpful advice. Instead, he agreed with my mother's expectations, which was unexpected. I was completely taken by surprise because my dad, who was usually the more level-headed one of my parents, was now saying the strangest things. When I asked him if he really meant that, he told me that he did and said that Karen and I have had a history anyway, and I'm also part of the family, no matter what our relationship for the past 5 years has been. Ultimately, I am blood and if they can count on anybody to step up for the family, my mother's expectations are not unreasonable, but they really caught me off guard. Right now, I'm not sure what to do. For the past week, I have been avoiding speaking to anybody from my family, even my other relatives, since I'm just afraid that somebody will bring this up with me, and then, I'll be forced to explain my decisions. I'm in a bit of a tough spot right now. I feel like the bad guy because I'm refusing to step up for my family. They really need me, and it's not just about money. Emotionally, they need me too. I'm just not sure what to do. My mother's request seems weird and unreasonable, but I also feel bad for rejecting it outright. I haven't even been down to the hospital to see my brother because I just feel so weird about this entire situation. I haven't been able to talk to any of my friends about this because it's all really personal. Ever since my wedding was called off, things have been tense between my family and me. But now, something even stranger has happened. And that's why right now, I'm posting this here on Reddit because I really think that I need some objective opinions about what I should do. And be it, my friends or family, everybody is gonna have some sort of biased opinion. I really need advice because I feel like I might lose my mind if I don't find a solution to all of this soon. I feel like I'm going back to a time in my life when I was constantly thinking about Karen and Chris. It's like when I found out that she was cheating on me, and it was a really difficult time for me. I really don't want to go back to feeling that way because it took me a lot to get over it. So please, whatever anybody has to say, no matter how harsh the opinion might be, please just tell me so I can at least distract myself. So Ida for refusing to go see my family and step up for them after my brother got into an accident. Update 1, hey everyone, I've made the decision to hold off on visiting my family for now. It's just a lot for me to handle at the moment. I didn't even realize exactly how bad my anxiety had become in the last week, just because of the things that my parents were telling me. I'm currently taking medication to help with my anxiety, and I'm working on dealing with everything that's going on. I've received an outpouring of love and support in the comments on my original post and through direct messages. It's incredibly meaningful to know that there are people out there who are there for me and that I'm not going through this alone. I'm extremely thankful for everyone's kindness. So thank you so much for that. I've also had conversations with a couple of my close friends and shared with them what's happening because I truly feel that handling everything on my own is too much, and they reassured me that I can reach out to them whenever I need to talk about it. Additionally, they confirmed that my choice not to visit them at the moment is the right decision. Because at this moment, it's the best decision that I can make for myself. And I have to put myself first, no matter what anybody else is going through. Throughout my life, Chris and my family have consistently prioritized their own needs, so it's high time I start doing the same. Truth be told, I don't really think that I need to be there for them emotionally either. They have each other, they can handle this by themselves. When my wedding was called off and I discovered I had been betrayed, none of my immediate family was there for me. My own parents had turned against me and had picked my brother over me, even though he was the one who had been in the wrong, and he should have been the one to get lost out of the family. But anyway, that's all in the past, and I'm trying to move on from that. I won't be able to do that successfully if I go back to them again. So I have blocked all of them once again, and I'm going to stick to my decision of not having any contact with them. I'm deeply sorry about what happened to my brother, and I really hope that he gets better soon. No matter what he may have done, I could never wish harm upon anyone. So I hope things work out for them, but I'm out of here. I'm just gonna focus on my own mental health now, and I'm considering going back to therapy because of the way that I dealt with this and the way that these things that my parents said got under my skin. I feel like I need to talk to a professional because I'm struggling to cope with everything and old emotions are resurfacing. I've decided to prioritize taking care of myself. Update 2, so I heard from a couple of relatives that my brother's condition is still pretty critical and is not showing any signs of improvement. It has been almost 2 weeks and he is still in the hospital. The family is going through a tough time, and I empathize with them, but there's not a lot I can do to help. Everybody who knows my family has dropped by the hospital to see my brother at least once in the past 2 weeks and offer their condolences for the terrible accident that has taken place, apart from me. I was considering doing that, but I recently found out from my relatives that my parents have been badmouthing me to everyone who visits them, portraying me as the villain. They seem to be spreading the word that they invited me to visit and support the family, but I refused. They're accusing me of saying that this situation is payback for something that happened 5 years ago and that my brother brought it upon himself. For the record, I obviously did not say anything of the sort. Some of them contacted me to confirm if this was true or not because it did not seem like something. I always try to be kind to everyone, because I believe in treating others with respect. And when they asked me about it, I obviously told them that I did not say these things and my parents were making it up to make it sound like I was being a terrible person, probably a reaction out of me or maybe just like that, because that's the kind of people that my parents are. I felt really let down when people started spreading untrue stories about me and making me out to be a bad person, especially since my life had already been messed up once. I'm grateful that my relatives checked in with me about it, because if they had just believed my parents, I don't think anyone in the family would be talking to me right now. For the past 5 years, I had not spoken to my parents, but the rest of my family, my aunts and uncles, and of course my cousins, had all been there for me. I really didn't want to lose that, and it seems like my parents were determined to mess that up for me as well. I just can't fathom why they despise me so much. I've never done anything to hurt them. My brother and I have never been particularly close, and my parents have always had a soft spot for him, right from our childhood, but this seems unnecessary and excessive. Update 3, Hi, I posted an update a couple of days ago, and today my mother tried to contact me once more. I had blocked her on all platforms, so she came to see me in person in order to talk to me. So, when I came back home from work, she was already there, waiting for me to come back. I honestly didn't even feel like talking to her because I was just so exhausted from work already. I was thinking about getting back into the car, but then she saw me and I had to go talk to her. I did not have any intention of letting her into my house because then it would be very hard to get rid of her. So, I decided to talk to her in the front yard, which proved to be pretty bad for me since eventually she suddenly started shouting at me, which got the neighbors' attention. At first, our conversation was normal small talk, but then I couldn't hold back and asked her why she was spreading lies about me to make me look bad. I told her that it was not fair to me because I had never wished anything bad to happen to my family, even after they had treated me like this, and I honestly just wanted to move on with my life, but they were making even that really hard for me. I had been keeping these feelings bottled up for a long time, so when I saw her, everything just spilled out. I couldn't help myself. I ended up telling her that after everything that had happened, it was really hard for me to consider them as a family because they had never treated me that way. I was extremely let down by their behavior. So whatever it is that she had come to talk to me about, it could be done later because I just came back home from work, and I was really not in the mood to fight or talk to anybody about anything that was too emotionally exhausting. Until that moment, she had been listening to me calmly. However, when I told her I didn't want to speak to her at that time, she got really angry. She said she was here to apologize for the same things I had mentioned and claimed that both she and my father had been thinking clearly. They had been pretty pissed off by my response initially because I had refused to step up for my family and even visit my brother while he was in the hospital, but then, they had realized that they hadn't exactly treated me well in the past 5 years and that I was obviously very upset about that even now, and that's why I was not visiting. She had come here to talk to me and try to sort things out between us because she felt that at this time, the family should stick together, just for the sake of emotional stability. However, after I told her I didn't want to talk to her, she became angry and decided to yell at me instead. She said I should be thankful to still have a family because, based on how I reacted to my brother's accident, she was considering cutting me off and making sure the rest of my relatives stopped talking to me forever. I didn't understand what she was talking about, so she explained that apparently, she believed that my reaction had not been sad enough when I had learned of my brother's accident. I was unsure of what she was expecting from me. She mentioned that she had anticipated some emotional reaction from me when I was informed about my brother's accident. She felt I sounded indifferent during the phone call. The news had a big impact on me, regardless of our personal relationship. As I had mentioned earlier, I do not wish it upon anybody, and that includes my family in spite of our personal relationships. I was really upset when I heard about his accident. Maybe she couldn't see my face during our phone call, so my feelings didn't come across clearly. But her reasons for being upset were completely unfounded and didn't make any sense at all. She even went on to say that my absence for Karen and my nephew, and failure to step up for them in my brother's place, just showed how little I cared for the family. She was just making things up yet again to justify how they were acting, and I really think that my parents have started to lose their marbles because these things are completely weird and unnecessary. Anyway, after she started yelling at me, I lost even more interest in speaking to her, and I just decided to get inside my house and ask her to leave. After a while, I opened the door to my house and went inside while she kept yelling at me. She tried to come in after me, but I closed the door and asked her to leave because I was really angry and didn't want to deal with her anymore. She argued with me, but I told her that I would call the police, and that's when she finally left, but not before she cursed me out and said that I would face the consequences of this soon. I don't understand that, and I don't really care to understand it. I just want to relax and move on with my life. Update 4, hello. So it's been 26 days since the accident, and my family finally had some good news to share with everyone today. Naturally, they didn't inform me about it directly, I found out from my cousins. But the good news is that my brother is finally showing some signs of improvement. He's not in a coma anymore and is responding better, so that's a good sign. I'm really rooting for him to make it. I hope he improves from this point onwards. Because the last month has been really stressful for everyone as a family, including me, in spite of the fact that I'm not even part of the family anymore and have been cast out long ago. Lately, my parents have been really getting on my case, and it seems like they're acting a bit crazy. It's like they're just taking out all their frustrations on me. After my last talk with my mom, I didn't hear from her for a few days, but then my dad called and started lecturing me instead. He used a different number than the one that he usually uses, so I was not able to tell that it was him. And when I answered the call, he started yelling at me almost immediately, so that I wouldn't even have the time to hang up when I realized that it was him. He was really sneaky about it. He would try to surprise me so he could yell at me. Instead of calling me at any normal time during the day, he decided to call me at 5 in the morning, when he knew that I would be sleeping, and I would have to wake up to answer his call and my brain would be all foggy. A few days after my conversation with my mother, my dad called me at 5 in the morning. After ignoring the first 3 calls, I finally answered the 4th, only to be greeted by his angry voice. He started yelling at me, calling me an ungrateful child and expressing regret for my existence. He said that he was going to make sure the rest of the family never spoke to me again because I feel really bad for not visiting my brother in the hospital when he was going through so much. I regret not being there for my family during that difficult time. After ranting for almost 5 minutes, he was the one who hung up because I was still trying to process everything that was going on. After I finished talking, he abruptly ended the call and prevented me from contacting him. When it happened, it was upsetting, but now I can't help but find it amusing. My parents are so determined to paint me as the villain and scold me for trivial reasons that they go to extreme lengths, which I now find pretty funny. I've already said that I believe that they were taking out their frustration on me, they just needed to escape court, and as usual, I had to be there for the family. It's okay because my father wasn't able to convince the rest of the family to go against me. They know I'm not in the wrong, and they remember what happened 5 years ago. Now that my brother's health is getting better, I hope they'll stop bothering me and just concentrate on him. Update 5, hello, it's so weird to come back here after almost 3 years. So much has happened since then, my life has changed a lot recently, mostly for the better. I've moved to Germany for work. I've been living here for the past 1.5 years, and I have also started seeing somebody. For the last 8 months, I've been in a really happy relationship with my girlfriend. At the same time, I haven't been in touch with my family for the past 3 years. And that's also been blissful if I'm being honest. I have kept in touch with my relatives, the ones who are nice to me, so that's different. My brother had a really bad accident, but he's doing much better now. It took him a while to recover, but he's doing okay at the moment. Karen had approached me after my brother had started recovering to talk to me and apologize for everything that had happened in the past, but I just told her that at this point, an apology was just not required. She had approached me after everyone had come to know that I was moving to Germany for work and had visited me with a bouquet to apologize, and it was on behalf of her and my brother. My brother couldn't bring himself to visit me because he was still carrying the weight of past events from 8 years ago. But to me, those things were all in the past, so I reassured him that I had forgiven and forgotten, and that it didn't bother me at all. And that part was true, I did not really care because I was moving on with my life, onto better things. Ever since that time, I've been living here and my parents have stopped talking to me. Surprisingly, I feel relieved about it because I wouldn't want that kind of situation to happen again no matter what. I'm feeling happy at last. Now that everyone's up to speed, I should probably get back to my own adventures. Thank you so much for the people who showed me so much love and concern when I was posting here and also continued to ask about me in the comments and stuff, even after I had stopped posting.